Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to the Joy-Filled Relationships Weekly Mastermind. I'm so glad you joined me here today, those of you who have, or those who are watching the replay, because I think today is going to be a topic that will be of great interest to you. I know it still is for me, even after first being exposed to it over 20 years ago, actually. I recently did a blog post on how do we find safer relationships, and I had a tremendous amount of feedback from it. So I feel like that's a question that hangs in most of our minds. So today we're going to talk about, where are my safe people? So the first thing we need to do is to dive into this and do um, um, a little research, if you will, or for you, it's the research I've done on what that actually looks like. So the first thing I want to give you is a very succinct definition of what I believe a safe person is. There's a lot more to it than this, but basically a safe person does not set you on edge. You don't feel uncomfortable around them. They're pleasant to be with, and it's just not a drag or not an emotionally exhausting experience. So I think we can all relate and identify to what that's like. Um, so some of the things to note in relationships with safe people is they listen to us. They see us. They understand or seek to understand where we're coming from. Obviously, we want to reciprocate, or safe relationships not only mean that we gain from it, but also we are becoming safer. So the only 100% safe person is Jesus. He's perfect. He's gotten it perfect from the beginning. We haven't, and we won't. But as we learn and grow through these times, we can come to understand that these relationships do actually help us in our faith journey. So safe people are reliable. They're people we can count on. They're not trying to control us, and they're not trying to fix us. They may have some good ideas or good suggestions about life. They may come alongside of us in our journeys and be with us, but ultimately they support us whether they agree with our decisions or not. So um, something to really enjoy. Also, they accept us without judgment. They may at times say to us, Sherry, I love you, but you're still wrong. And I need to hear that, because and the same thing, if I tell people what they want to hear, I'm helping myself. I'm looking like a hero. But if I tell you what you need to hear, I may actually help you. I may have insights on that. I may be able to see something because I'm not so close to the forest that I can't see the trees. And that may be hard for all of us sometimes when the situation, I know it is for me, when the situation is too close to me. Often it takes a good friend, mentor. I have a coach that can say, hey, this is how I see it. And it really brings clarification. So accepting us without judgment, and can often give us the space to hear. When they're not judging us, we're more open to hearing them and to gain clarification. So safe people manage their emotions, and they encourage us to do the same. They give us the space to have our meltdowns, but they also give us the safety of knowing that even when we let our hair down, or we aren't handling our emotions in the best way that we would like, we're okay with them. They love us anyway. They model good things, and we can do that for others. Many times situations don't change, but what can change is our response to them. So we are comfortable being around safe people by being ourselves. We don't have to fake fine. We don't have to pull off anything that's not who we are. We don't have to pretend if things are not how they need to be. We can truly be ourselves. We are able to trust people who are safe. We're able to trust that if they tell us something, we can bank on it. When we learn to respect a safe person's no, we can also know that it's great when they say yes, because they're all in. It's not half-hearted. So their no's may be disappointing, may not be what we want to hear, but their yeses can certainly be, and we can bank on them. And another thing, they treat themselves well, and they treat others well. A good indicator of how someone treats their relationships is how they treat themselves. Do they take care of themselves? Do they, um, do they live according to their own values and morals? If they do, the chances are they're a safe person to be around. Safe people can be very supportive because they've done the hard work in their lives and they're willing to do the hard work moving forward. So that is a great way for us to see and experience um, a place where we can grow and learn and we become better people ourselves. So they show up for us. They keep our secrets. They pray for us. That when they've hurt us or disappointed us, that when they apologize, they're sincere and they mean it. They tell us again what we need to hear. Like I said, it's hard sometimes to hear those things, but that's what can really help us. They offer consistent and a stable relationship, supportive. Um, we can know and trust that they will be reliable and that we will be able to and trust that that relationship is something that is not going to damage us or hurt us. There may be differences of opinion, but because there's two adults present trying to manage their emotions, we can have better outcomes even in experiences that may be less than what we desire, less than ideal. Now, again, in order to understand where our safe people are, we've got to recognize characteristics of what it's like to do life with an unsafe person. And I'm sure as I share a few of these things, you're going to be nodding in your head. But let me first say, we are all to some degree unsafe. As I mentioned, only Jesus is 100% safe. So when we recognize the characteristics of safe people, we want to become like that. And we want to have reciprocal relationships like that. When I mention these characteristics I'm about to share about unsafe people, we also want to note those as something to grow out of or move away from so that we can experience more joy in our relationships and in our life and in all the things we do. So some of the things you may recognize if you've been in a relationship or currently are in a relationship with a safe person is they are typically characterized by what they don't like and what they won't do. So some of the conversations we may have with them can be somewhat discouraging because of them talking about, I don't like that, or I'm not good with that, or I don't like doing that, or I don't like that kind of food, or whatever. Oh, I'm never going to do that. Oh, blah. And that's what we'll hear rather than openness, flexibility, a willingness to maybe be open to ideas that we may share with them rather than seemingly wanting everything to go in a flow that is about their interest or and avoiding things they don't like. Say unsafe people do not manage their emotions well. When they're upset, most people know about it. They don't really cover that well. If it's like it kind of falls off, the fallout is all over anybody near them, or especially those who are dear to them. They blame others rather than taking responsibility. Often they make their mistakes or they're finger pointing to somebody else. My grandma, as I've said recently in our post, my grandma always said, when you're pointing at someone else, you've got 1, 2, 3 fingers pointing back at you. That's a lot. So want to stay away from the blame game. Unsafe people will apologize, but they do not change their behavior. You will fall back in this pattern again and again and again. And they are critical. They can be judgmental. They'll speak the truth, but they don't necessarily use grace to do it. They can be quite hurtful in their comments. Often they're unforgiving. It's easy for them to hold grudges. It's hard for them to let go of things. They want to ruminate over and over and over how you've disappointed them and hurt them and not done what they expected of you. They often have unmet expectations and they want to require you to fill them. Not only are they usually unmet, they're often unspoken. But since none of us except God can read minds anyway, how are we supposed to take responsibility for someone's unspoken request? We don't even have to take responsibility for the ones that are unmet. We only take responsibility for what we communicate that we can and will do. And then safe people obviously will follow through on that. Unsafe people are very poor on follow through. They are unreliable and undependable. So follow through is is wishful thinking, or in probably better words, it's a pipe dream if you're dealing with an unsafe person. So as I mentioned, Jesus is our example of a 100% safe person. But here are some ways that we can move towards safety, because if you've ever heard the little thing that birds of a feather flock together, the safer we become, the more likely we are to attract safe people. And I'm not just talking about in a romantic relationship, but the right kind of friends, and people that we work with, people that we choose, jobs that we choose, things that we choose. We will begin to identify with safer people, and we will begin to surround ourselves with that. So we move forward and towards safety by developing a deep personal, intimate relationship with the Lord. And wherever we are in our faith walk, we can always draw closer to the Lord. We know that when times get tough, we can dive in and go deep. Having that relationship continually before us is what allows us to have wisdom and discernment about situations that we might not need to be a part of. So moving towards being more safe is owning our own stuff. If I blow it, I blow it. I can apologize for it. I can ask forgiveness, and I can sincerely work to not repeat those kind of mistakes and hurt people. Safe people, moving towards more safety in my life, learning to respect others. If they, if they can be a part of what's going on when I've invited them, that's great. If they can't, I need to treat them the same way. Because if I make it difficult when they don't do things my way, I'm not the kind of safety they need in their lives. So as we grow safer, we give people freedom. We don't try to control or fix them. So we're also, we find ourselves becoming more and more empathetic. Now, there's a difference between empathy and sympathy. Empathetic means I see you. I'm compassionate about where you are in your journey. I know you're going through things at times, we all are, and I can offer just friendship, a hug, whatever. It may be a meal if you've had surgery. I may just be present with you if you've lost someone close in your life, or you're really seriously going through a health crisis or something. But now sympathy is often something we give where we step in and we try to fix or absolve something that God is wanting to allow someone to go through, because that's part of their growth. And it can very easily move into us rescuing, which moves us away from safety. God is our rescuer. We don't rescue others. We're compassionate, we serve, we show up for them. But when we take on the role of rescuer, often that means we have someone we're enabling. So be very aware of the difference between empathy and sympathy. As we move towards safety, we're willing to do the hard work of allowing God to transform us from the inside out, because that's what he does. The closer we get to him, the less of us shines through, and the more of his light in us becomes evident in those around us. That's our goal. So the thing to remember in finding safer people, it will allow everything in our lives to have more joy, will be something that's much more appealing, and we will become the lights and the love that draw others to him. They know we are his, that we follow him by our love. So when we surround ourselves with people that help us to grow and become better people, then we are able to offer that light and love to others, so they too can find ways to become safer and better people. So that is how we find our safe people.